Welcome to Marco LaRock TV. I'm your host, Marco LaRock, and today we are joined by my good friend and mentor, Dr. Joann Schaefer. How are you, Dr. Schaefer?
I'm good. How are you?
Awesome. I'm doing wonderful. So thank you so much for having me in your office.
You bet.
And make things a little easier for me. So years ago, you were diagnosed with a liver disease, and you have complication, almost died. And then I was shocked. One time you made a statement that that's the best thing that ever happened to you in your life. Why?
Well, I think sometimes we take our days for granted and we don't recognize the joy that is in your life and that is in every day. And when you are faced with a moment where you think you're going to die, you have kind of instant clarity about the things that are important. And it just provides you with a really good moment to seek out joy and happiness and being in the moment a little bit more and connecting with people and realizing that your family and your friends are kind of the most important thing to you, and a lot of material possessions and other things are not important to you in those moments.
That's interesting, yeah. So you just mentioned happiness. So it's kind of interesting to me all the time that I think that you choose happiness. You always have a good sense of humor. You always smiling all the time. So how are you able to maintain that positive attitude all the time?
Well, I think it comes from that. It comes from I was 27 when I was diagnosed, with, liver disease, inherited, born with it, didn't know I had it, and, found out I was going to have a liver transplant at a really early age, right? And I thought, gosh, if I should not be able to make it to a liver transplant, if I die young, how do I want to be remembered? What kind of impact do I want to have on the world? And that has resonated with me forever. Not to mention the fact that I lost my best friend not too long before that, and her life was cut short. And those two things really made me think of, life is too short. You don't want to be remembered as a crabby curmudgeon. And, seriously, and my mom used to say all the time, before you go thinking how bad you have it, remember there is always someone who has it worse. And it's very true. So that was my frame of reference always. And in order to keep my stress under check and really live healthier and happier, I chose the happy route, and I chose the being a kind of a diehard optimist as much as I could, and I still am that way.
Yeah. So it's not always happy for people, when they experience, a health adversity during that time. So what message can you have for somebody who's currently, under that same circumstances? What can you tell that person?
Well, it's hard, I get it. It's hard. There have been a lot of days in my adulthood that I have not felt good, many days. And, I've worked, full time up until right before my transplant. I've worked, I've had, many hospitalizations. I've had to go right back to work right after them. So I get it. I understand how hard it is. But this is a little trick I've always played with myself for a very long time. I was a big fan of going to amusement parks and going on roller coasters. I still am to this day. And so my rule of thumb was, if I felt bad enough that I really couldn't walk around an amusement park and go on a roller coaster, then I probably really was sick. And I probably really did need a rest. But if I knew in my heart that I was not so bad that I wouldn't get up and walk around an amusement park and go on a roller coaster, then I was probably good enough to get up, put on my clothes, go to work, go to whatever, do whatever, and participate. Because if everything was going well and I was at an amusement park, I wasn't sick enough to stay behind. I was going to go participate, right?
Yes.
So it was a good objective way for me to tell myself, it's all up here. Get up, get dressed, show up, be present, and go do what you need to do. And 9 times out of 10, I would feel better, and I would do better. And that's, when you have a chronic disease or when you have a chronic health condition, you got to be engaged in your health. And so, I did all the things I was supposed to do to take care of myself, and it really paid off.
So, are you 9 years old now or 10 years?
I'm 9.
You're 9, okay.
9 years old.
I just been wanting to talk about the playground also. You still play out there? You still like to go have fun play? And it's kind of where people say like, oh, she's really not 9 years old. Can you explain that?
Yeah, so I'm 9 years out of my transplant. Okay. So it's kind of my rebirth, as you say.
Yes.
So yep, I'm 9 years old and I have full-time employment. I think I'm doing pretty well.
You're doing pretty good, right?
No,
I love it.
Yeah. So yeah, 9 years out of my transplant. So I celebrate that birthday as much as I celebrate my real birthday.
So how do you celebrate that? What
I like to celebrate with my donor because he gave me my life, and my family likes to celebrate too with him because it's a pretty big deal. They, my kids are, they're really grateful to him, as is my husband. So we're very, very fortunate.
So from a family medicine doctor to the first woman to hold the post of chief medical officer for the state of Nebraska, to now be an executive vice president for a healthcare company, what are your secrets to career success?
Oh gosh, I've had a lot of people help me get here, and I've worked really hard. So, like I said, get up, show up, learn. And I've had a lot of people that have been there to help me along the way, point me in the right direction, be honest with where I'm doing well and where I'm not doing well. But I think, being open to not criticism so much, but open to where you need to improve.
Okay.
And be willing to listen to folks.
So
and
pretty much being coachable.
Coachable,
kind of,
you bet. Being coachable. Yeah. That's exactly right.
Yeah. So when you say people, you're talking about your friend, your colleagues. Who are those people, kind of?
Well, early on when I was in high school, one of my high school biology teachers, taught me the idea about having a board of directors, having these a personal board of directors, people that are your mentors or coaches along the way. And just like a company has a board of directors, correct, that are made up of a variety of different skills and assets on the board to help guide a company. You're kind of like a company. You want to be successful. You need to have a personal board of directors. You need to have people that are there to help guide you. And so, you need to ask for help, and you need to be willing to pay it forward. And so you don't think you know the answer to everything. Be humble in your approach and ask people to help guide you, because you won't know everything that there is to know in life. And life is complicated, and it's hard, it gets messy sometimes, and it's not fair, all those things that you hear, right? And but there are people out there, there are good people that will help you. And when you get that help, you just got to be willing to pay it forward and help other people.
To give it back.
Give it back.
Yeah. How do you find those people? How do you find those people that you can have on your board?
I think it was keeping my eyes open to the possibilities, and people that I really admired, and I would admire them for one thing or another, and then I would ask them, I'd tell them, I really admire this about you, and I really need to learn that skill, or I really need to have help in this area. Would you help me? And it just led to a variety of different skill sets that, really were beneficial. And now that's a large part of my career now, is to really help others in the same way. And I've kind of tried to pay it back all along the way, but now I feel like I have more to offer.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So I've been coaching and mentoring, individuals for a while.
That's good. So many young women out there wanted to be like, leaders, maybe like you. How can they build the confidence in becoming successful leaders? Some of those things I've learned, I think one of the
two things that my dad taught me, and I was very fortunate. I had one from each father. I had a dad, I had a father and a stepfather, and my father used to say, well, when you were afraid of things, he would say, well, what's the worst thing that could happen to you if you go for it and you fail? What are they going to do? Shave your head and send you to Siberia? He had this thing, about that time in history. That's right. And he would say that to me when I was afraid of something. He goes, what's the worst thing that could happen to you? And I'm like, I don't know. And he's, no, really, what's the worst thing that could happen? And he would just encourage, he would just push for me to take it. And then my stepfather would say to me, listen, at the end of the day, you just need to look in the mirror and say, okay, I really did well with this, but I kind of didn't do so great at this. But I'm going to forgive myself, and tomorrow I'm going to do a better job. And go to bed and have a good night's sleep, and then get up the next day and do a better job. But he said it's really important that you're honest with yourself about where you did really well and where you didn't. And you don't take on everybody's judgment of you, but be honest with yourself. And I think when you do that, you can be more confident because you know where you goofed up, and then you don't have to worry about everybody else judging you for what you're goofing up on, because you know, and you're honest with yourself, and that builds strength for all the things that you did really well. But then just be willing to get better at the stuff that you goofed up on, forgive yourself, and then really focus on the things that you're doing well at.
So basically being self-aware.
Being very self-aware. You got it.
That's amazing.
Self-awareness is really, really, really important.
So it's unfortunate, men still outnumber women when it comes to leadership position. Do you think we'll ever close that gap? And what are the common challenges facing women today in leadership position?
Well, I do. I'm hopeful that we will close that gap. I have a granddaughter who's just 4 months old, and I really hope this is just a thing of the past, that she doesn't, it's not even an issue, right? But we have a long way to go, I think, still. It's definitely gotten better just even in my career. I do think, there's a lot of gender issues that come up, and I think it's not even recognized all the time when it happens. But more and more people are trying to become aware, and so I'm very hopeful. And I think the best thing that can happen is when women see it, they point it out, but it's even more important when a man sees it, that he points it out and gives credibility to it, so that they can help. And a lot of men have done that for me in my career, and I'm extremely grateful.
That's amazing. So if you had power to make one change in the world right now, what would that be?
I wish people would stop talking so much and listen more. Because I think that there are too many people giving their opinions about everything, but and then the other side is listening and being offended by everything, but no one's hearing what each other are saying. And I just think it would be really important if people actually heard what people are saying. And so big problems could be tackled in a more rational manner if people could actually hear what each other are saying.
And sometimes I feel like, people trying to listen not to understand, but listen to just reply, to have like an answer quickly. It's like, okay, I have the answer already, I'm just gonna give it to you. So
you're exactly right.
Yeah, that's a good point.
They listen to debate.
Yes.
They don't listen to really understand.
So what are you the most grateful for?
Being alive.
Being alive. That's pretty cool.
I'm very grateful, and I'm grateful for having a healthy family.
Most important.
Most important.
Because sometimes, like you mentioned earlier, we focus so much, on the material things, which is all those things. In the end, if you're not healthy, you cannot enjoy those stuff.
That's right.
You can't do any of those stuff.
You can't do any of those things.
So I think it's very important.
Yeah.
What would be your last advice to my viewers today?
Oh boy. Everybody has a responsibility to make this world better in some way, shape, or form, to have an impact. And so find out how you're going to do it.
Awesome.
And you can do it with your passion.
Your passion too, yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time. Really enjoyed the interview and
Thank you.
enjoy. Thank you.